Good morning. Last time I talked about verse 2 of chapter 4 of the Sefer Yetzirah, and today we're going to skip over to verse 4 of that same chapter. So let me share my screen. And I think we're ready. Sefer Yetzirah 4:4. What this verse is going to do is it's going to extend the meanings of the 7 double letters so that they can be connected with the cube of space, that early mystical model for the universe, which in turn comes from the 10 utterances that were used by God to create the universe. So let's take a look at it. Rabbi R.A. Kaplan's translation says, 7 doubles, beged gefart, up and down, east and west, north and south, and the holy palace precisely in the center, and it supports them all. And I translate that as 7 doubles. Bet Gimel Dalet Kaf Pe Resh Tav, ascent and beneath, east and west, north and south, and the holy temple dwelling in the middle, and it carries them all. Now, when it says that it carries them all, it means essentially that the center point, this middle point, it is what supports the whole universe, all of creation, as exemplified by the 6 directions, up, down, east, west, north, south. Okay, let's go on to the next slide. This passage completes the association of the 10 sefirot with the 3 mother letters and the 7 double letters. In previous passage, we read that the 10 sefirot are breath, breath from breath, water, fire, up, down, east, west, north, and south. The letters Aleph, Mem, and Shin, those are the ones we call the mother letters. They correspond to breath, water, and fire. And the 7 double letters, Bet, Gimel, Dalet, Kaf, Pe, Resh, Tav, they correspond to up, down, east, west, north, south, and the Holy Temple. The Holy Temple, represented by Tav, also corresponds to the breath from breath. Okay, so I hope you can see what's going on here. The 10 sefirot, originally they are declarations of constraint that correspond to these 10 utterances of God that we find in the first chapter of Genesis. Those utterances which create our world, create our universe. Okay, that's what the 10 sefirot are. And those utterances by God, they put limits or restrictions upon things, separates heaven from earth, creates boundaries for the land to separate it from the sea, and so on. And we find those utterances, those 10 utterances, then corresponding to parts of this cubic model for the created universe. That's our earliest model. Mystical model for the universe is this cube that some like to call the cube of space. And I like that terminology myself. And so we had the different sefirot corresponding to 3 spatial axes, 6 directions, and then the very center point. And now the 7 double letters, along with the 3 mother letters, they also correspond to parts of that cube of space, and hence the 10 sefirot. This is what the 10 sefirot were originally. Okay. Now, continuing, in a previous passage, we also saw that the 3 mother letters represent the up-down axis, the east-west axis, and the north-south axis. And with the directional associations of the 7 double letters, we are well on our way to delineating the fundamental boundaries of the cube known as the cube of space. This is a precursor to the more recent sefirot, or Kabbalistic tree of life. And like the tree, this is also a diagram that represents the created universe. Furthermore, the statement that the holy temple carries them all tells us that all is contained in the center, in the same way that a cup contains the water that it carries. And here I have a picture of a cube with 3 spatial axes, showing the 3 mother letters defining these axes for 3-dimensional space. So Aleph corresponds to this up-down axis. Then corresponds to the east-west axis, and the letter Sheen corresponds to the north-south axis. And lastly, here are the placements of the 7 double letters in the scheme. 6 of those letters correspond to the 6 directions, with the last letter corresponding, to the very center. So we have Bet, Gimel, wisdom, and wealth. This fits in nicely because we go to these higher spiritual states. We experience that divine wisdom. We go down to the physical level, to the earth. It's a wealth of resources and possibilities. And then our next axis, the east-west axis, we have Dalet and Kaf. Okay, Dalet corresponds to seed at the beginning of the day. Sun rises in the east, so it's like the beginning of the day. We plant our seeds for what we want to accomplish. And then west, it corresponds to the end of the day. And the letter Kaf corresponds to life, because life is what we have lived. So at the end of the day, we can look back to everything we've done that day, and we can assimilate it and think about it. Okay, and then the north-south axis, we have we have the letters Pei and Rage. Pei corresponds to dominance, remember? Pei is dominance, and in the north, life is harsher. We need to discipline ourselves. We need to, in a sense, dominate our environment in order to survive. We have to have that discipline and structure. In the south, however, things are easier, and because things are more laid back and life is easier, it's easier to experience rachamim, compassion, which corresponds to the letter Resh. Okay, and then if we live well enough, in particular, if we use Torah wisely, then we arrive at our center, represented by the letter Tav, which stands for Torah. Torah, by the way, means instructions. If you follow the instructions, let's say, in your heart wisely, then you will be balanced and you can easily move in any of these directions. Okay. So, and remember at the center, the Holy Palace, this is also that breath from breath. Breath is the spirit which is everywhere, the entire universe. We condense that down to a single point, which is us. We say our soul comes from God, and the Zohar actually says our soul is God. That spirit within us is God. So that spirit within us is sort of God contracted down to a single point, which becomes the center. But breath from breath, well, it's all breath. It's all the same, whether it's the single point or the entire universe. But you become balanced here, and you can do it all. You can move in any direction. Okay, that's it for this slideshow. I will stop sharing. And I'll say shalom, goodbye, be whole, and I hope to see you next time.